Welcome, ladies. Hi, how's everybody doing? I hope you're all faring well during this pretty stressful time, right? I sure miss seeing all of you and just drinking in your, positive energy and all your compassion. And again, you never cease to amaze me. Last year we had our four events. We had the one live one in at Nisi's in February, and then we had the three like we're doing tonight via Zoom. And collectively, 65 to 80% of you stayed involved, continued to give, and we gave $70,000 back to Boulder County last year in the midst of everything. So kudos to you, and let's just make this next year an even better year because the need, of course, is so great. So now we're going to hear from Chris and the YMCA, our last winner. Our gift to them was over $11,000. And we were also able to get that $5,000 Schultz Family Foundation matching grant. So we were able to give this really important organization $16,000. So I'm really excited to hear what they did with all the work. And we have three amazing new nonprofits. So stay strong, ladies, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye-bye.
Okay, there I am. Thank you so much for inviting me tonight. I appreciate this, and I appreciate your gifts so much, helping us during the pandemic. It's been literally a nightmare for the YMCA, and I say that because everything we do is group related, right? And everything we do is with children, with seniors, with families, and certainly just like restaurants and everywhere else, we were affected by it. But what was really hard for us is that it made the most financial sense for us just to shutter the doors, right? Just close down, because then you take that PPP money and you pay staff, and then you shutter and you don't have the expenses, maybe mortgage or minimized heat and electricity. But it was the exact wrong thing for us to do for our mission for the community. Right now, we're serving hundreds, if not thousands, of children, but they're the most vulnerable. So, in other words, like my kids, right? I have my kids are older, but if this had happened 6, 7 years ago, my wife and I could have split how we were staying at home and worked that out. We didn't have jobs that forced us that we had to do it. Before I came to the YMCA years and years ago, I was a policeman in Chicago, and there's no way, you can't just say, "Hey, Sarge, staying home today because my kids have at home school." So right away, remember the world closed down. It was like a Thursday. Remember back a year ago, it was like a Thursday, and they said, "Okay, we're shutting down." The Y was open on Monday. I received a call from Sheriff Pelly and from the Chief Business Officer, Daryl Brown of the BCH Hospital Group, and then also from the Longmont United Hospital Group. They're like, "Hey, what can the Y do for our essential workers? Can you provide childcare? Could you provide childcare in our hospitals or at the sheriff's substation or places like that?" So literally, we worked all weekend and we're open on Monday to provide that childcare. The districts took 6 weeks to figure it out, and a bunch of other providers, but the Y, literally, we never shut our doors. I think we were shut for the weekend maybe, but that was it. And then we've stayed open continuously since. Let me see if I can. Do I have the ability to share the screen? No. Okay. I'll read you the numbers. Had to do a report for for the county. Just as an idea, in 2019, we served 8,000 children in childcare. In all of 2020, we served 3,000. And the 3,000 that we served were the most vulnerable. Well, the majority of them were the most vulnerable. So that, in other words, they would either have been latchkeyed, or the parents something would have fallen off the table. For example, food, shelter, gas for the car, things like that. Those were the families that we're serving. The Y's business model is that we serve the entire community, and then the kids that pay full rate help to underwrite the kids that we scholarship. And depending on our school site, we have some of our sites where 100% of the kids are scholarshiped, and we have other sites where 10 or 12% are scholarshiped. So one way or the other, the Y's figured it out to make it all balance. And that's what we, this year we couldn't do that. We were losing at the worst, at the height of it, we were losing $300,000 a month that we were providing at a loss so that children would have a place to be during the day so they wouldn't be at home alone. So picture when we come out of this pandemic in the end, we're like a family that took a second mortgage on the house and maxed out all the credit cards. And that's the state that the Y will be in, but we'll survive it, right? We'll be there. We've been in this community for 147 years, so we'll be okay on the other end. But the only reason we're okay is because of gifts like this. That's it. I mean, that's it. We've had the highest year of donations that we've ever had. 38% of our donors have never given to the Y before, but they read what we were doing and they cared about the kids in the community and they gave for the first time to the Y. Does that kind of answer everybody's questions, or what else could I provide for you?
I think that's great, Chris. Thank you. I think we're gonna go on to the presenters. I'm gonna also unmute Cheryl, but thank you so much.
All right, should I sign off?
You want to? Yeah.
Okay, I'm out. I'm in charge of cooking potatoes for dinner tonight. There's other food with it. We're not just having potatoes, but all right, thank you.
Thanks, Brent. I also just unmuted Cheryl. I'm going to set your guys' timer, and I will do this, and then I will cut you off if you go 30 seconds over. Just letting you know.
Cool. Okay, and so now we're going to hear from the three drawn out of the fishbowl, and we'll just do it in the same order they were drawn out. And they're three amazing, and they're going to limit themselves to 5 minutes and tell you about the org that they love and why they need our money right now.
Okay, hi, I'm Karen Hewitt, and I am nominating There With Care of Boulder County. They've been working approximately 15 years, providing support for families during a critical phase of a medical crisis in their family, and they're doing that to ease the daily stresses with compassion and care. So the goal is to get the families back on their feet and help them through the entire crisis, but also make them feel like they're not alone and that they're given compassion and care. So the way that it works is when a family has a diagnosis, a social worker at a hospital will identify a family in need and then contact one of the 5 coordinators at There With Care. The coordinator then contacts the family and basically is like, how can we help? It almost knows more than the family does because this is what they do. So the care part is the beautiful thing. I was just completely enthralled by this. They provide things like transportation to and from hospitals, treatments. For example, if you have a child that has, let's say, a rare cancer, you may only be able to receive treatment in New York City or somewhere, and they will help fly the child and the parent there while providing support at the house for the rest of the family. They might bring the other kids to sports, to tutors. They give gas cards to and from appointments. A lot of times you're going to the hospital every day for chemo. They provide meal programs, things like not just groceries, but prepared meals. They have a thing that they did prior to COVID called Team Chop, where they had all these volunteers go into a big kitchen and chop up vegetables and prepare bags for crock pot meals, and then even deliver that with the crock pot so the families could spend time with their sick their loved ones and know, since they're gone at the hospital so much, and have a meal that's just cooking in the crock pot. They have baby essentials for a lot of the families who have the preemies. So the premature babies are at the hospital, the parent is having to be there. So they provide car seats, diapers, blankets, cribs, strollers, and they make sure that the siblings at home are cared for with things like tutoring. If a birthday comes up, they'll get gifts. They'll make sure that there's home maintenance. For example, these are immunocompromised families. So they have an entire, not just cleaning service, but one that does industrial type cleaning, lawn care, pet care, professional services like accounting, computers, basically everything you could possibly need, but they do it with care. They package it as if your neighbor gave it to you, and it makes you feel like you're loved, basically. So let me get into some of the nitty gritty, I guess, about what they do for Boulder County. So they have served in 2020, 24 families living in Boulder County. 5 of those families were identified as single parent households. So they're going through this crisis while trying to maintain a home alone, which I don't know how you could possibly do that. So 14 of the families had critically ill children. 10 were parents diagnosed with life-threatening medical conditions. And this can be people that maybe just moved here and know nobody in the community, have no family or neighbors, and they're going through this suddenly, and they need help. So the majority of their families, 87% of them, live in financial distress. The average day that a family receives care is 111 days. And the average cost for a family to be served through the crisis is $4,169, but they will see them through the care, meaning sometimes there's relapses or appointments or follow-up. They will stay with that family. That coordinator will directly be with that family till they don't need them anymore, however long that takes. They're they have a platinum seal of transparency, meaning 76% of the money goes to programs, 17% for fundraising, only 7% for administrative costs. And if the donation is given to them, they will use it all for Boulder County if we ask that of them. I'm ending with a quote from one of the families that was served by them, that when someone helps you at such a low point in your life, it's something that you'll never forget and something that you'll always be grateful for. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Bressler, and I'm nominating Natural Highs. As you know, there's an opioid crisis in America and in our community. Just 2 weeks ago, several young, loved kids lost their lives after using common street drugs. According to the latest Healthy Kids Colorado survey, over 13% of high schoolers have taken opioids without a prescription, and 5% of them have used in the past 30 days. On Saturday, the Daily Camera reported a large drug seizure in which 25% of the pills were laced with a deadly amount of fentanyl. That means for the 5 in 100 kids in our towns who use opioid pills regularly, 1 or more of them might have lost their lives. But I'm not here to propose supporting Natural Highs just for the 5% of kids that regularly use narcotics. The survey also reported that 24% of our high schoolers regularly use marijuana. And of those kids, 60% report using highly concentrated THC products or dabs. High THC marijuana has now been linked to severe mental health impacts such as high anxiety, depression, psychosis, and suicidality. We also know that drug abuse is usually not about the drugs themselves, but about the underlying problems of trauma, mental or emotional distress, or a lack of connection to healthy community. For many years, there have been programs out there trying to educate kids about the dangers of drugs, but Natural Highs is unique because it creates a community that helps kids deal with these issues and find alternatives to make themselves feel good. Natural Highs offers completely free workshops, drop-in classes, presentations, sober events, and entrepreneurial and leadership opportunities for teens. The program helps teens learn skills for coping, support each other with healthy choices, and take on leadership roles to positively impact other teens. This interactive prevention and intervention program is led by Ivani Dilger, who is an amazing addiction counselor, and it's co-created by teens who then act as peer mentors to help other teens. What they learn is not taught or experienced anywhere else. Natural Highs serves over 2,000 teens per year in the Boulder area. Some students are mandated to attend through diversion programs. Some are sent by their concerned parents, and many others drop in out of curiosity and continue to come because of the warm, welcoming connection they feel in this community. But Natural Highs does have one problem, and that is funding. Now more than ever, Natural Highs needs your support. Normally operating on a shoestring budget, Natural Highs funding has dried up during COVID, a time when drug use among our youth is at an all-time high. The annual $15,000 grant from the city of Boulder that it relied on as a big part of their budget was completely cut in 2020 because of the city's sales tax downfall. A donation from this group couldn't be better timed and serve a better immediate purpose. When fentanyl hit our community a few weeks ago, Natural Highs immediately reached out to warn young people and their parents. They're developing training right now to educate on overdose prevention, including using Narcan, the opioid overdose antidote. They will use the funding to expand this programming, which is so vital at this very moment. The money would also allow Natural Highs to offer AccuDetox, which is a 5-point acupuncture in the outer ear. AccuDetox can reduce cravings for alcohol and drugs, reduce anxiety, and the impact of trauma, all of which is plaguing young people right now. Finally, Natural Highs would like to pay small stipends to teens in the program that wish to create their own outreach programs that bring healthy activities and connection to other teens. These young leaders are making steps to change teen culture. Imagine if not doing drugs was cool. Supporting Natural Highs will help them reach more teens in our communities to reduce the life and death impact substances are having on them. Just this morning, I logged onto the Natural Highs group chat where a young lady wrote, and I quote, "We are so lucky to have Natural Highs. This community is unlike anything I've ever experienced, and I am so grateful to have a space where I feel respected and genuinely can show up and feel loved," end quote. We know that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it is connection. And this connection is needed right now more than ever. Thank you for considering Natural Highs for your donation.
Did that work? It said you wanted me to unmute. Okay. Oh, am I supposed to get started now or? Oh, I am. I'm sorry. Hi. I nominated Boulder Voices for Children because of the amazing work they do in Boulder County. Boulder is ranked as one of the most affluent cities in the country, but here in Boulder County, 1 in 10 families live below the poverty line. The children that Boulder Voices for Children serves have parents that are struggling with mental illness, homelessness, addiction, domestic violence. Each year in Boulder County, more than 2,500 children experience abuse and neglect, and over 300 are removed from their homes and placed in foster care. Many of these kids bounce from foster placement to foster placement. That's when Boulder Voices for Children gets involved. Boulder Voices for Children trains court-appointed special advocates called CASAs that are assigned to abuse and neglect cases. These volunteers advocate for kids that have experienced psychological, emotional, and physical abuse. They communicate with everyone in the child's life, teachers, doctors, social workers, and foster parents, gathering and documenting information to give independent and informed recommendations to the judge in the courtroom. Most important though, they're often the only consistent and positive adult in the child's life. They are truly changing the trajectory of these kids' lives, one volunteer and one child at a time. They're making sure that our most vulnerable children can realize their dreams and thrive. As one CASA volunteer said, "As one person, I cannot change the world, but I can change the world for one person." So what's the impact of the donations to Boulder Voices for Children? Well, it costs Boulder Voices for Children $1,500 to train and provide a CASA for 1 year. Last year, Boulder Voices for Children provided CASAs for 323 children and 245 trained CASAs were able to put in almost 8,000 hours and drove almost 70,000 miles to help their CASA children. The results were that 92% of the children that work with CASA, the case was closed with a permanent home, and 98% of these children were reunited with a parent or family member. Most of the time, if possible, the best interest of the child is to reunite them with their family in a healthy environment. This past year, Boulder Voices for Children added a Strengthening Families program that provides safe, supervised therapeutic visits between families and kids on a sliding financial scale. The new program will also offer formal prevention services to help families overcome the stressors that are leading to child abuse and neglect in a safe, trauma-informed environment run by professionals. But before I close, I want to share my first introduction to Voices for Children. A good friend adopted her son from social services at the age of 4. I was privileged to attend this adoption. My friend shared some of her son's struggles with me. Her son's birth mother was a drug addict, and social services had been called in when the toddler was found malnourished and left in an apartment by himself. Fortunately, he had been assigned to a CASA when he was put under social services care. The CASA followed him as he moved from 3 different foster homes before my friend and her husband could adopt him. The CASA found that in one of his foster homes, they were disciplining him by holding his hands under water and telling him that he was a very bad boy. Finding this out, the CASA quickly removed him from that abusive environment. The CASA volunteer was the only consistent adult with his young life and followed him for 3 years until his adoption. Well, today, I can say I've known this child since he was adopted at 4, and at 25 years old, thanks to his CASA and his adoptive parents, he's doing well. Boulder Voices for Children really is saving kids and lives by training these court-appointed special advocates. And during these COVID times with families under more stress than ever, the need is even greater. I know that some of the CASAs, a team that I've heard about, have taken on 7 CASA children so that we can have a CASA for every child. But the need is still great. So I'm asking for your support for this wonderful organization. And one last thing, donations to Boulder Voices for Children of $250 or more is eligible for a 50% tax credit in Colorado. That was all. Oh, okay.
Sure, I was gonna let you end the meeting.
I really don't need to say anything. Ladies, those were just wonderful. And oh my gosh, is that going to be tough? As soon as Allison can get this downloaded, I will put out, and then we'll also have Christine put it on our Facebook page. So thank you, ladies. It was really wonderful to hear from all of you.
Awesome. She'll cut out there for a second. I'm just going to reiterate, I'm going to get the video posted by tomorrow, typically. So get it all, it's going to take a little processing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your work.
Mm-hmm.